Hey guys, so big video today. Big video. Um, what we're going to be talking about today is salt. And I'm not talking about, if you're on Call of Duty and you're a little angy, if you're a little spicy, some would say you're a little bit salty. No, we're not talking about that kind of that kind of salt. You know what I'm saying? Different kind of salt. And the type of salt that I'm talking about is the salt that you would actually first think of, which is the type of salt that you eat. And I guess specifically, we're going to be talking about this type of salt. It's called popcorn salt. Popcorn seasoning is the subtitle, the alternate name for it. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about this kind of salt, and you might say, well, that just looks like a regular salt. And in many ways it is. There's only one ingredient, and it is salt. So it is salt. But I want to talk about it because isn't that interesting that it says, popcorn salt, and it's just salt. That's pop. You can't just call you can't. What that would be like saying, if I had a gas station and I said, this is not just gas. This is Ford Bronco gas. All right. And not do anything to the gas. That would be silly. That'd be a little goofy. And that kind of comparison that I made is kind of the situation that is happening with this salt, because this is called popcorn salt, and it's just salt. It's just salt. You could just call it salt and use it on popcorn, and they just specifically, narrow it down to being popcorn salt. And I think that's interesting and weird, and so that's why we're talking about it today. So I think that's kind of a little silly that you do that. Another reason that we're talking about this today is because, I don't eat enough popcorn. I thought, I used to eat enough popcorn to kind of justify getting a whole seasoning, and foolishly, here I thought that, this was probably like 5 years ago when I started to have plain popcorn, and then melt butter in the microwave, and then pour it over the popcorn, and then have some salt on top of that. And that was pretty darn good. It was pretty tasty. I used to do that. I don't do that anymore because, you end up using a whole bowl for, just a little pad of butter, and it just seemed like too much. And so I don't do that anymore. I just kind of stick with the, standard butter seasoning that you get in a microwave popcorn packet, right? Your classic Orville Redenbacher, movie theater butter popcorn, whatever it may be. So, but this was back from those days, from the real butter microwaved in the microwave days, where I would also put salt on it. And I thought, foolishly here, I thought popcorn salt would be different than just regular salt, would be special. But then it turns out it's not. And also I didn't eat enough popcorn to use up the salt. So here it sits, in a cabinet. And, recently I was like, hey, I have this just popcorn salt. It's just regular salt. And I thought, I should use this up as regular salt, and just kind of have one less container, in my apartment to deal with. That's just all I was thinking about, was one less container. So, one less thing. So, I started to use it again, but I don't know if this is a function of how old it's been, because it has been about 5 years, and I don't know if that is the reason for this, but the salt is kind of um, congealed. It's kind of stuck together, coagulated, however you want to say it. It's kind of all stuck together, and it's kind of in like a block, where if you shake it, see, there's a tiny bit, because I've been kind of scraping it, like I've kind of been sticking a knife in there and scraping it a little bit. I haven't done it with the whole thing yet, because I feel like it's just gonna coalesce, stick together again. So I figured I wouldn't do that too many times, but yeah, so I did it once, and yeah, it's kind of sticking together. So that's why you heard a little bit of shaking, even though, before I stuck the knife in there, the butter knife in there, it wouldn't sound like like salt shaking in there. It would just sound like a little brick, like a tiny little salt brick. So that's not great, and I would say that is a flaw in this type of salt. Now, it is just salt. There's only one ingredient. There's only one ingredient, and it's just, come on, it's just salt. I don't know. It's not an ingredient problem. I think it's something to do with maybe perhaps the manufacturing process of the salt, or perhaps the size of the salt. Maybe it's like, I think it is a little bit finer grain of a salt. So maybe it's just a function of the time that it's been there, or maybe there's some sort of moisture factor that I'm not considering. There are many facets to the situation, and it's hard to say if it's any one of them without more testing or experimentation or what have you. But regardless, for whatever the reason may be, the salt is sticking together, and I'm not having it. It's not a huge problem. It's just like a little annoying, So that's all. So that's what I want to talk about with that salt. But anyway, it does taste like salt. I will say, I use it. I can just use it as salt, and it does function as salt. And so, there's a little bit of good and a little bit of bad. So I would, that's kind of the type of thing where I would say, I would call that a 5 out of 10. Thank you.